It's been just over 24 hours since a two-week truce between Iran and the US was announced, but the fate of the two-week ceasefire already looks in peril.
And this is with Tehran threatening to resume hostilities as Israel continued to bombard Lebanon. There are too many weak points in this existing ceasefire agreement. Iran has halted the passage of oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz, and both Iran and the US have given divergent versions of what had been agreed to. Washington and Tehran both claimed victory after agreeing to that two-week ceasefire, that double ceasefire as Trump called it, and negotiations aimed at ending the war.
However, fractures emerged quickly as Israel carried out its heaviest strikes on Lebanon since the Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah joined the war in early March. Strikes across capital Beirut without warning triggered scenes of horror and panic. Reports even suggest that more than 250 people have been killed and nearly 900 wounded on Wednesday alone. United Nations rights chief called the scale of killing as horrific.
We have more goals to complete, and we will achieve them either by an agreement or by renewing the fighting. We are prepared to return to fighting at any moment necessary. Our finger is on the trigger.
Israel said that its battle against Hezbollah is not part of the truce, an argument echoed by US Vice President J.D. Vance as well. And this was days before that he is due to lead talks with Tehran in Pakistan. That's due just this weekend.
I think the Iranians thought that the ceasefire included Lebanon, and it just didn't. We never made that promise. We never indicated that was going to be the case. What we said is that the ceasefire would be focused on Iran, and the ceasefire would be focused on America's allies, both Israel and the Gulf Arab states. Look, if Iran wants to let this negotiation fall apart in a conflict where they were getting hammered over Lebanon, which has nothing to do with them and which the United States never once said was part of the ceasefire, that's ultimately their choice. We think that would be dumb, but that's their choice.
Now, Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf appeared to threaten the ceasefire, posting on X that the workable basis on which to negotiate had already been violated, which made further talks unreasonable. Ghalibaf even listed 3 alleged US violations of the proposal, and those are what he termed as the continued attacks in Lebanon, a drone entering Iranian airspace, and even denial of the country's right to enrichment, leaving the longevity of the truce uncertain.
And Iran's Revolutionary Guards warned that they would fulfill the duty and deliver a response if Israel did not cease its strikes in Lebanon, while Hezbollah said it had a right to respond. And Iran announces alternative routes for ships traveling through the Strait of Hormuz, citing the risk of sea mines that have been laid by Iran itself in the main zone of the vital waterway. Under the truce, Iran has agreed to reopen the strait temporarily with ships passing through the strategic waterway on Wednesday. But reports suggest that the waterway was shut again later that same day, that's just yesterday, despite the ceasefire, prompting the White House to call on Iran to reopen it immediately, quickly and safely.
Adding to the fragility of the truce is White House insistence that Iranian plan being discussed in media is not the workable framework received by US officials.
The Iranians originally put forward a 10-point plan that was fundamentally unserious, unacceptable, and completely discarded. It was literally thrown in the garbage by President Trump and his negotiating team. Many outlets in this room have falsely reported on that plan as being acceptable to the United States, and that is false.
Now, this shows that many issues remain unresolved, starting with the basis of the negotiations themselves, that 10-point plan. The mediators, that is Pakistan, are due to host the Americans and the Iranians for talks in Islamabad, possibly as early as Friday or over the weekend. All right, joining us live now from Washington, D.C. is John Rosomondo, president of Viking Research Associates, geostrategist and expert on national security. Mr. Russell Monroe, thank you so much for making time for us. Let's just start right off. Yes, John, let's just start with Lebanon. The worst strikes that Lebanon has seen, and it happens after the ceasefire gets announced. Let me just quickly substantiate what I'm saying, because the US is saying that this was never part of the ceasefire, but the only verbal aspect of that ceasefire came from the Pakistani Prime Minister, who mentioned Lebanon and elsewhere effective immediately as part of the immediate ceasefire. In fact, Lebanon was the only country he actually mentioned. How do you see the statements coming out from the White House saying Lebanon was never part of the deal?
Well, I see the Pakistani Prime Minister, as we say in America, freelancing and putting words in the White House's mouth, showing the unreliability of Pakistan as a mediator.
But tell me, John, when they have been mediators here, the US has relied on them. They are even going to Islamabad. That's scheduled in less than 48 hours. The Vice President of the United States is going to be visiting Pakistan, and the core aspect of that ceasefire seems to be in peril. What do you even expect? If they're going there, clearly there is some trust. Otherwise, the US Vice President would never step on Pakistani soil. Does that not substantiate what Pakistan is saying?
No, I think that you have to realize that President Trump is all about personal relationships, and he has a strong relationship with Field Marshal Simranir, Pakistan's defense minister, and with Shehbaz Sharif, the Pakistani prime minister. But I don't think that substantiates anything. I mean, you have a relationship, and I think that you can't uncouple Lebanon from Iran, because Hezbollah is basically an adjunct of the RGC.
John, we're having issues with the connectivity. I'll request if you could rework the connectivity once, and we can continue with our discussion, because I'm unable to catch exactly what you're trying to say. Let's give it a little more time. We'll reconnect with John in a few minutes, and once this connection is stable, we will continue. But what we were discussing, and Samiksha, we were discussing this in the newsroom as well, that Lebanon seems to be the thorn that can have the potential to make this entire ceasefire fall apart, because it's crucial to Iran.
Well, absolutely, Shivan. And that's puts Pakistan in a spot here, because Pakistan has insisted that Lebanon was very much a part of the ceasefire that's been agreed upon.
And even what I quoted with our guest, Samiksha, this is exactly what the Pakistani Prime Minister said, that they have agreed to an immediate ceasefire, and by they, I mean America and Iran, everywhere, including Lebanon and elsewhere, immediately, effective immediately. In fact, that's what I was mentioning, that I reasoned that Lebanon is the only country that was mentioned when he mentioned the ceasefire. Now, one would understand that this is what is driving the ceasefire talks. We will try to reconnect with John or get more voices on the platform soon enough as we have a stable connection. As of now, let's move further. More updates to continue.